Hello, hello, and welcome. This is Dawn, your host and your contrarian soul guide. You're listening to Sovereignty Rising, the podcast where we dive deep into the messy, magnificent journey of healing, truth telling, and returning to our power. Today, we're exploring what it really means to rise from the ashes of loss. Not polished, not perfect, but real. Because sometimes life doesn't crack us open gently, sometimes it splits us wide. And in the wreckage, something sacred begins. I'm joined by the incredible Shannon Donohoe-Simpson, a truth teller, joy bringer, TEDx speaker, and the radiant voice behind Toolbox Tuesdays. Shannon has walked through cancer, divorce, motherhood, and identity shifts that would begin to bring most people to their knees. And instead of hiding the pain, she chose to meet it with vulnerability, storytelling, and sisterhood. We're talking about her powerful piece From Loss to Wholeness and diving into questions like, how do we find strength when everything breaks open? What does beauty and womanhood mean after a mastectomy? And why is it so healing to be witnessed by a circle of women when our bodies and souls are transforming? This is an invitation to soften, to be with your own story, and to remember that your pain is not weakness. It's proof that your heart is still beating. Whether you're in the midst of loss, transformation, or simply craving truth, you are not alone. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome, Shannon. I am so excited for you to be here and be a part of our show.
Thank you so much for having me, Dawn. It's my absolute pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. You just did an article in a magazine that is local to us called the CV Collective. And for those of you listening that are not part of the Comox Valley, you'll be able to read this on our link. We'll keep the link in the show notes to the article because it's beautiful, the sharing of this story. So for those that aren't reading it, can you please share a little bit about this article and why you felt like now was the right time to share it?
Thanks for the question, Dawn. This article is a deep dive into my journey through breast cancer, then realizing that I had what they call breast implant illness, and my journey back to myself and healing through that journey. And I had the need to share this, and some of you might feel connected to this or not, but it literally was a download. I was in the middle of a camping trip, and I was just sitting there enjoying the fire, and I got this download like, it's time. It's time to share this story. And so I reached out to my girlfriend to do the art and another girlfriend to do the photography, and then Comox Valley Collective. And when things just unfold effortlessly and they just go boom, 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 and it just literally unfolded. And so I know this was the perfect time to share this story. But I think the biggest thing that really instigated this story, because I've wanted to share it for a very long time, but just recently, in the last year, I went through a divorce and found myself in this position where I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm single now. And going through that whole process of my cancer and my chemo and my double mastectomy with my ex-husband and feeling safe in knowing that I had a safe relationship with him going through that. But then finding myself on the other end being single and then being like, oh my gosh, like, am I still going to be attractive and beautiful to men? And if I don't have this part of me, this physical part of me that represents womanhood to so many. And through this journey, which has been a very deep dive, I realized that it's actually not the love from others that I need. I actually realized that it's about loving myself back to wholeness. And whether I have my physical breasts or not, they're still there energetically. And it doesn't change. It doesn't make me less beautiful. And I guess what I would really want to say out loud is there's something incredibly beautiful when you can come to this place where you can find that love in your heart for yourself. And then the love that literally resonates out of you as a human when you get to that place, it doesn't matter if other people think you're attractive or not. What matters is the love right here.
I'm so glad that you have shared this with us because I think for a lot of us that have, as women, when we go through something where we're going to change or lose something that we link with our femininity. And
Right.
so for myself, when I was in my late 20s, I had a hysterectomy. And for a lot of women, one of their big problems with having a hysterectomy, even if it's medical induced, such as myself, is this thing of like, but that's what makes me a woman. It's like a link to our physical womanhood and to lose that womb space, so to speak. But I'm glad you also brought up that they're still energetically there
Mhm.
because I mean, we've seen it. There's it's krill photography, and they do this a lot in Russia. And they use this photography that you can take a picture of, say, a leaf, and it shows the energetic field around the leaf. And they tear the leaf in half and take half of it away. And when they took another picture, there was still the energy field of the entire leaf there. And
That's
so
incredibly beautiful.
right? And so I
Yeah.
think that's important for us to recognize is, yes, the form, the bio portion of the breast is gone, but the electromagnetic, the field, the aura of that is still here. And
Mhm.
so that is so, so beautiful and powerful because it's a big problem for us as women is if we lose an aspect of ourself, what does this mean for me?
Mhm.
I'm so thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. You write about feeling like your life split open when you faced cancer, implants, and your son's diagnoses all at once. How did you begin to find strength in that breaking open? And again, for those that haven't written the article, can you give us a little backstory on that as well?
Yeah. So I was 34, turning 35, and I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, which is a very aggressive form of breast cancer. My twins were 1 years old at the time, and my husband was had two broken hands, and my son was diagnosed with autism while I was in the middle of chemo. And it literally did feel like my world was, yeah, I can feel myself being emotional, literally falling apart. Like
Yeah.
it just felt like cancer was enough, but then all of these other things that were unfolding just didn't make sense. And I just remember at one point being like, how? Like, how am I gonna get through this? And there is something, and I've spoken to about this in the article, but there's something beautiful about when you surround yourself with community and when you learn to ask for help, because we're so good at offering help to others, but we're not really great at asking for help. And so I had the absolute pleasure of working with a life coach because I was had the opportunity to have what they call critical illness, which most of you know. So I had some money that came in, and one of the first things I did was hire a life coach that I spoke with weekly. And I remember at the end of every week, I literally felt like I wasn't going to be able to make it, and she would pick me up and just put me right back at the top again. And it was so amazing. And I was connected to this incredible organization out of Vancouver called the Callanish Society, and they do week-long retreats for people with cancer. And I remember sitting in circle with those beautiful women every single Wednesday for 2 years straight, working through my grief around cancer, and then having a website called Helping Hands, which allowed people to bring food to my house like once a week. And so I surrounded myself with a lot of incredible people that wanted to be there for our family and help our family. So I had people coming in helping with the twins. I had people coming in and supporting me. And I don't know, had I not had the bravery to ask for support and help, that I would be here speaking with you today. And so I think that's a really important thing, is asking for help. It's what we're meant to do. We're meant to help each other. We're meant to support each other. We're not meant to do this alone. And so at a, I would say, fairly young age, at 34, I was given the opportunity to really learn what it is to experience, what it is to be surrounded by people that really want to support you.
That's so beautiful. And you're right. There's so much um, power and beauty in the circle, and when we come together in sisterhood. Have you always had close relationships with women, or was this a new experience for you?
So, no, I have not. Not until, actually, I would say, in the last 5 years, I had the opportunity. I mean, when I was doing the circles at the Callanish Society, that was co-ed, and I was sitting both with men and women, which was really beautiful to be able to sit in both the masculine and feminine and have both holding space. But also in the last 5 years, I've been sitting in a lot of women's circles, and not just circles, but women retreats. And I've started facilitating my own women retreats because I feel like it is so incredibly powerful. One, to say the words out loud, but two, to be witnessed saying the words out loud, and to look around the circle and see these heads nodding in, like, knowing that you're not alone, and realizing, like, I'm not the only one that's going through this. And these other women are saying, like, me too. Like, oh my goodness, me too. And then by the time you get around to the last person to speak, it's always the same thing they say. It's so amazing how I literally feel like I don't even need to speak right now because you all said what was on my heart. And there's just something so beautiful to be able to, like, even just recently, I had my first 4-week series. And at the beginning, they all came in and they were very unsure, and I could feel a lot of anxiety and a little bit of fear. And 2 hours later, they literally were hugging at the door and all walking down my staircase, smiling and laughing. And I just thought, the power of women coming together, creating a safe container, and knowing that anything that's on your heart can be shared and be witnessed in a safety, and just know that we're not alone.
Yeah.
It's so transformative.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I've had many, gone to many retreats and done circles. And just this June, I was away with one in Greece with one of my coaches. And it was my first full women's circle where, for myself, I often go in a titch guarded. Like, I watch to see, like, pick up each person's patterns, each person's habits. And it's a survival response that I have from childhood. And I have a lot of really deep, deep um, feminine wounds, like with sisterhood, and especially like, there's only so much room at the table. So there's an attack that can happen with women. And this was my first experience. I was away. There was 14 of us all together, and where every single person was supportive. And like you said, there was tears, there was support, and people felt heard and you felt seen. And I finished that retreat knowing that a deep wound had finally been healed.
Mm.
And so I love that you're putting together these circles and these retreats for women because I think it is so vital and so important. And I think they're important for men too. And so, we talk from this position of women, as a woman that has two sons and a husband that she loves very, very much, that, there's a crisis for men and men's mental health, and men do not feel safe to speak. The rate of suicide in men is far higher than it is in women. And most people don't realize that. And so I love this idea of circles for women and women getting to support each other and heal that wound. And I love the idea for those of you out there listening that are men, that we also have circles for men that, can be transformative and heart-centered as well, because I think it's imperative. At the end of the day, most of us want to be seen and want to be heard. And that's something that we're lacking in a society with such a short attention span and with deep deep wounds that aren't, we're coping with, but we're not letting go, we're not healing these. So that's so so beautiful. Thank you. Question for you: many women struggle with the idea of feeling less than after the mastectomy. How has your definition of beauty and womanhood shifted through the journey?
I think that comes right back to what you were just talking about the women's circles. I don't know that I would be where I am right now if I hadn't the opportunity to sit in circle with other women and be witnessed and have these other women mirror back to me just all the things, it's hard to actually articulate how much transformation unfolds in these women's circles. It's like you have to kind of be there to experience it. But my journey back to healing and my journey back to wholeness and my journey back to the beauty that's within has come slow, and it is it's never ending. It's this ongoing journey of wanting to do the work. And also knowing when to take a pause. I just need to say that out loud because sometimes it's like, wow, like I just need to take a break today. Like I just need to take a break. But having other women in my life, which I love what you just spoke to about these sister wounds. And I feel like it's one of the containers that I set when before I start the women's circle is that when we come to this place where if we're sitting in circle and we're feeling a little bit triggered and we're feeling a little bit like, we're not sure I like this woman very much. She's kind of triggering me a little bit, feeling a little bit uncomfortable, feeling like there's a little bit of fire in me right now. And that's the place where I ask the women to pause and remember that when we have one finger pointing, that there's always three fingers pointing back at us. And like my counselor always says to me, the triggers are the treasures. And so when we're triggered, can we take a deep breath and remember that maybe there's something for us to look at here? Maybe there's something for us to own. And man, I wish I knew this at a much younger age because, man, I've done so much projecting in my lifetime. And I've been part of those sister wounds. I've been unkind. I've said things. I've done gossip. I've partaken in it all. And man, is it humbling when it comes back and bites you in the butt and you get the lesson the hard way.
Yeah.
So, when you speak of like beauty shows up in so many different ways, whether it's, the beauty around, this, I feel like we're talking, I know about the loss of my breasts and what that looks like. And, or is it the physical beauty and all the pieces that comes back to what does it mean to be whole as a human? And for me, that is this journey of being brave enough to constantly come back to looking in the mirror and looking at the parts of myself that I don't really like. the parts that I want to look away from, the parts that I want to pretend aren't real,
Yeah.
I wish would go away. But again, that's the beauty of this incredible life that we get to live, is learning that we can be whole, we can love all parts of ourselves, and there can be grace, there can be self-compassion, there can be all these parts. And when we surround ourselves with incredible humans, that can also be the mirror to the parts of us that maybe we don't want to look at. And if they can gently and kindly and gracefully point that out to us in a way that we can hear it, or maybe we're sitting in that women's circle and someone else admits it, and like you go, oh, I do that too. And then you're humbled again.
Yeah.
And I want to say that this journey, and you talked about it at the beginning and the opening and brought me to my knees, whether it's been the pain of my cancer or the pain of wanting to support my son in ways that I didn't even know that I could. I didn't know if I had it in me to give him all the support that I wanted to give him. And it brings you to your knees and it humbles you. But I think the most beautiful thing is when we can keep our heart open. You know, I think I've spent a lot of time in my life closing my heart. And I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think we're here to experience all that life has to give. And in that experience, keeping our heart open and feeling everything that we are meant to feel, whether it's hard, whether it's messy, whether it's beautiful, whether it is all the things. That's what life is. That's what we're here to feel. And I want to, at the end of this day, and I can speak to being very close to death because I had to end my chemo because it was going to kill me. So I have been on death's door and I know what it's like to be so sick. And so I can say out loud that I want to exit this world one day with my heart wide open.
That's
And
beautiful.
that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. I remember when I always listen to books. So I was listening to a book by Brene Brown, and she was talking about living wholeheartedly. I think it was in her Daring to Lead and this value. And I was just exploring heart work. Had worked with a coach. I've talked about it before on the podcast. I worked with a coach and did 4 sessions with her specifically on getting into my heart because I was so intellectual and so in my head. How do I get back into my heart? And when I got into it and started doing a lot of the heart healing work, starting to understand the power, for most of us, we protect the heart. Subconsciously, we create these blocks and guards. And we do this as a way for safety and survival. It's not like we do this to harm ourselves or others. And for myself, I had such a thick and dense heart wall to protect myself. The warrior was always on. And when I was actually at the retreat in June, we were talking in circle and I said, we're in the season where the warrior gets to rest. And so as women, we sat and talked about that. And I was like, it's time for the goddess to rise. It's time for us to step into, the realm of the sovereign queen. And to do that, the only way to become a sovereign queen instead of a dictator is to open the heart. And so to get into this place where we have this energetic expansiveness. And if you haven't listened to a lot of my podcasts before, one of the things I talk about is, the bioelectromagnetic field. And so we all have a bioelectromagnetic field. Everything in the universe does. And for us, you think bio, your body, electro is your thoughts, and magnetic is your emotions. And so we all have a bioelectromagnetic field. However, our organs also have ones individually. And the heart has the largest of any organ, and it expands at over 15 feet in diameter, measured probably much larger than that, but based on our own measurements, so scientifically measured the heart at over 15 feet in diameter when it's in a state of joy or love, when it's open. And just like a rabbit that, senses a predator, we close. And what happens for a lot of us is we get stuck closed or stuck only open a little bit. And so we're in that guarded place. And that's the feeling that you get if you think when we're in with people we love, you walk into a room, you're like, oh, I just love their vibe. And then when you're with somebody whose heart's closed, you're like, I don't know, it's just hard to connect with them. Or even maybe, she's really cold. And so I love that you bring this up because we are designed, health and vitality is increased by our heart being open. And when we protect our heart and guard, we actually decrease our health and vitality. And so, how important this is for each of us to do this work of heart opening just for our own health and vitality, but then also how that ripples out, because that also means anybody within a 15-foot radius of you is being affected by your energy. And so when we think of it from that point of view, what are we rippling out into the world if we open our hearts up? So I love that you bring this up as part of your legacy to leave this world as a person that's put that type of an imprint out there into the frequency into our world. That's so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn.
Um, one of the things I was curious about, so in the healing ritual you created with henna photography and your circle of women that is so powerful, why is it important to be witnessed that way? I love this idea of the henna. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so it was interesting because originally I thought, I'll get Mel to do the art and I'll get Meredith to do the photography. And then all of a sudden it just was like, oh, it doesn't make sense to do this without having women come and witness this all unfold. And I I'm so glad that I did because it was actually the first time. So what happened was as Mel was literally painting on the or drawing on the art and Meredith was photographing, I got to actually speak my story out loud from start to finish as these my four great good friends were witnessing for the very first time. And the tears that flowed not only from my eyes, but from my girlfriends. And it just was an incredibly powerful and healing night. Like I can't even put words to what unfolded that night. But it wouldn't have been the same if I had just done that art and had Meredith photograph it without actually having those women there to witness me and then being able to speak my words out loud. It just, it would not have been the same experience.
Oh,
And again, it just brings me full circle back to the importance of having us the opportunity to sit in circle, whether it's women's circles, whether it's men's circles. And there's actually quite a few men's circles here in the Comox Valley, like quite a few men's circles. Like it's actually surprising, alarming how many. I think there's actually more than women's circles. It's incredible.
wow.
So I just it just was so much more impactful and healing to be witnessed
Yeah.
by my friends through this beautiful process.
Mm.
And
Oh,
you'll see
that's,
that actually in the picture.
yeah.
If you go to the collective, because it's literally this beautiful picture with all these women's hands all over my body. And like, if you could see like a picture speaks 1,000 words, it really does speak 1,000 words. I
Oh,
mean, it speaks community, it speaks safety, it speaks beauty, it speaks so many things in one picture.
Oh, I love it. And for those of you listening, so you'll be able to see that the link will be in the show notes. And if you pop over to practicalspiritualismco.com and go to the blog, you'll also see a link there and the photo of that and photos of of Shannon. So we'll have all of those pieces sitting there for you so that you can read through it and see all those photos. That's so, so beautiful. I love this. Now, you said your body is not wrong and your pain is not a weakness. Can you unpack what that means for you and for other women that are listening?
When you ask me that question, I go right back to the beginning where I was diagnosed with cancer, and cancer stops you in your tracks. It really does. And for the first time in my life, I was forced to stop. And I've spent a lot of my life being very busy, filling every little moment and every little space, trying to prove that I was worthy, that I was enough. And cancer forced me to stop and slow down and reflect. And having the opportunity to do that at a very young age with young children, again, it makes you have a different lens of life. You know, not everybody has the opportunity to have a life-threatening illness at such a young age. And I think for me, it was an incredible gift to have the opportunity to go through cancer at such a young age. And I'm forgetting the question that you asked
That's okay.
specifically.
That's okay. Your body's not wrong and the pain is not a weakness. And I just asked if you could unpack what that really means for you. This idea that your body's not wrong and pain's not weakness.
Well, and yeah, so I'm on the right track.
You are.
So when the body says no, which, if you've had the opportunity to read that book by Gabor Mate, that was the very first book that I read when I was diagnosed with cancer. And I realized that I went through a lot of childhood trauma that I was not allowed to speak of, didn't feel safe to speak of. Mm, you spoke about it at the very beginning. I was definitely raised in a house where you're to be seen and not heard, be a good little girl, do as you're told. And so holding on to all that trauma and not having the opportunity to speak it out loud, I do believe that these emotional things do manifest into physical ailments. And that's exactly what happened for me. My cancer was definitely connected to the things that happened to me in my childhood. And so cancer was an opportunity for me to really pause and reflect. And I remember sitting in my first retreat, and we were up in Squamish with the Calendar Society again. And I remember sitting in this first circle on day one, and I just remember sitting there going, this retreat isn't about cancer. This
Yeah.
retreat is about the trauma of my childhood and how I got to this place of cancer, which is actually forcing me to deal with the stuff that I've never wanted to look at or never wanted to unpack or never felt brave enough to even say out loud, even feel safe to say out loud. And so that journey, like cancer again is that physical thing, but it isn't just the physical. It's the physical, it's the emotional, it's the spiritual, it's the we're not just physical beings.
No.
There's it's so much bigger than that. And so cancer was just my invitation to look inward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I love that you keep saying opportunity because, we as human beings, we hear this a lot. Eckhart Tolle's been doing a lot of work on it right now about, going from chaos to consciousness. This piece where we as humans, we do not grow when life is comfortable and going well. We actually are quite content to stay right where we are. And we only really grow when there's a level of struggling. And if you think of like it's within the struggle, just like the butterfly coming out of the cocoon, it needs that struggle to gain the resiliency, the strength, and the wings to fly. And that seems horrific when we're going through, our dark nights, when we're going through traumatic events, whether those are, traumas with a small t or traumas with like a big T, then it's like, why do I need to go through this? And, the answer is because we only grow through these difficulties. And I look at every time I'm triggered, every time something goes right sideways as an opportunity. My question's always, what is this for? What are you showing me I need to let go of now? And that's how I look at it every day. What can I let go of today? So this unpacking, and that's how I think of healing. Healing isn't because we're broken. We are perfect, whole, complete. We are pure potential. We are a divine entity. We are an aspect of consciousness, of source, of universe, of God, whatever you want to call that. And when we think of that, it's just this layering up of our traumas that, gains like a shadow aspect of our subtle body. And we hold all these things in and we say, mine. This happened to me, this happened, and we identify. And the healing process is really the letting go process, where instead it's, I had that experience and now I have and it gave me the opportunity to understand this. Like I wouldn't, work with women and be so big on, re-empowerment and the reclamation of your power if I hadn't gone through a life of people trying to take mine. So,
Mm.
how that, the birth of those opportunities comes through for us. So I love that you keep saying the opportunity. Such a powerful statement.
Yeah. And it wasn't always my language.
I feel that.
I spent a lot of years in victimhood but yeah, like we don't get to these places unless we go through these dark places. And I've had like that word again, I've had the opportunity to go through a lot of hard things in my life, but it's brought me right here, like right here today, and that is so incredible. And I think, you know, and I've said it before, like, I don't know the joy that I experience in my life now, even with the hard things that I'm still moving through, is a joy that I can't even put words to. It is like nothing I've ever experienced before. So I think it's that we really need to go through those hard things to be able to come on the other end and experience the joy and the beauty and all that life has to give and all that life has to offer. But sometimes we have to go through the muck.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Now, for women or anyone walking through their own loss, transformation, or illness, what message of hope would you want them to carry with them?
I think what's on my heart is that when we stop looking outside of ourselves for the answers, there is something so incredibly freeing about that. When we can trust ourselves and love ourselves and know that everything that we need is right here within. And I think the other thing that's I really want to share, and I've already said this out loud, is being brave enough to keep our heart open, even when we want to close it. And that doesn't come easily, but being brave is it's like a muscle. We just have to keep trusting ourselves and keep putting one foot in front of the other. And then we can sort of stand there and look back and go, wow, like, look what I've done. Look where I've come. Like, look how far I've come. It's so incredible. And so I would say surround yourself with beautiful people. Trust yourself. Keep your heart open even when you want to close it. And keep putting one foot in front of the other. There's just so when we can believe in ourselves and love ourselves, the magic that unfolds, it almost doesn't make sense sometimes. It's incredible. It's incredible see where we can be and where we can move towards when we have that trust that that beauty is within.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. It means so much to me that you are open to coming on to this show and sharing this with our audience. It's powerful, very powerful. If someone were interested in following you, maybe joining one of your circles, can you please share with us how people can follow you, how they can learn more about what it is that you are doing to transform this world and leave your legacy?
You can find me, you could email me at Shannon at shannondonohoe-simpson.com. You could also find me on Facebook at Shannon Donohoe-Simpson. You can find me on YouTube at Shannon Donohoe-Simpson. I also on Instagram. I'd love for you to take a moment to watch my TEDx talk, which is on the TEDx site. And yeah, I would love for you to join me on one of my circles and on my journey. And thanks so much, Dawn, for having me on my podcast. This has been such an awesome opportunity. And it's been my absolute pleasure to be with you here today.
Oh, you are so welcome. And just so you guys all know, all those links are in the show notes, so don't worry. And if you lose this when you're listening through, if you're on a roll of just listening, then remember that you can always go over to the website and under blog, we have the show notes and you'll be able to have all the links there as well. Thank you so much, Shannon, for being with us today. I am so incredibly grateful to get to share space with you.
Thank you so much, Dawn. My pleasure.